Brandon Groce. And we are the Game Changers. Designers, creatives alike. We are in a world that runs on value. Our next designs will be the shiniest. Our next animation will be the most buttery. Ladies and gentlemen, Game Changers, let the games begin.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another EditorX Live with me, your host, Brandon Groce, and I cannot wait to do part 2 of what we're going to be doing today because, guys, listen, we started off on a really good foundation yesterday. I've cleaned up a little bit of what we put together yesterday. If you were watching yesterday's live stream, again, if you haven't watched part 1 and if you've stumbled upon this, the links for all those things are down in the description. From part 1, our challenge for EditorX this month that ends September 20th, which actually should probably go over. So there's a couple house cleaning items that I do want to dive into before we dive into what I cleaned up and really created yesterday. And then also I want to say hello to all of you guys in the chat. What's going on, Night Owl? What's going on? It says, oh man, today is a teaching day. I'll be watching the recording. Well, my friend, this will be on Facebook and YouTube in the EditorX community, so have no fear. You can watch now, hang out, or come back later. This is going to be there for you. So with that said, let's actually talk about and remind you guys that we have a EditorX challenge that is live. And let me go ahead and see if I can pull this up very quickly. We're doing a lot of back and forth this morning. But again, hey, what's going on, Brian? Glad to see you in the chat as well, my friend. All right, so like I said, I'm not going to go too much in detail, but as I said, you guys, by September 20th, try to put some really cool hover interaction piece together to submit before September 20th. The prizes, again, are 2 free 1-year EditorX premium plans, and also you get the title of Creator of the Month, where EditorX and I will share your work and what it is that you do on our social media platforms and community channels. Again, the link for this is down in the description if you want to check out, submit something really cool, and get cool prizes. Definitely check it out. So that should be the second link in the description. With that said, let's move on into what we're doing for today. All right, so I was super excited about this yesterday. So there was a lot that we did in the 3 hours in our live stream, but today what we have, I'm just gonna show. I'm not even talk. Hold on, let me turn off my my video so you guys can see this in full effect. So we have a nice little rocking Pokeball here. We click it, it opens, there's a little bit of confetti, and we have our Bulbasaur here with his evolutions, a learn more button, and a button that closes all of that interactions, bring us back here to a nice closed ball. I mean, to me, that's super sick. We have a little bit of a video playing in the background. So what we're going to be doing today is taking what we have here today and basically making it responsive. So I really like all these pieces for desktop, and we're now just gonna figure out how we can bring this puppy to mobile and tablet. So let's go ahead and do that, and let me turn my camera back on. All right, there we go. But other than that, how's everybody doing today in the chat? I know we are probably going to be having some people fill in from ADP list, some people from the Discord community, but I would love to know how you guys are doing today, where you're coming from, and just generally how your day is. Get the party and conversation started. All right, so with that, we are just going to continue on what we have 2 jobs today. We are sprucing up our design, but also adding some responsivity to it, and maybe adding some bells and whistles as we have time, because I've been really enjoying what it is that we've been building with this. So it's just fun. All right, so I am going to, what do we want to start off with? So pretty much we have everything. Now, what I like to start doing, I think just with every responsive project, is what the experience looks like on these different breakpoints. Obviously, we have shortcuts to these, and they're all pretty much broken. But I think they're going to be pretty much an easy fix. So tablet is fine. This is obviously broken. But one of the things that I do not like is the way that these 2 things, our Pokeball and our social, how they are scaling. So let's go ahead and fix that first. I'm gonna go ahead and click on my Pokemon logo right here, and I'm going to make sure that at least from the desktop standpoint, that we stay at a specific size. So I might just set this to 172 pixels for our desktop. And I might do the same thing for our social containers down here. Right now they're at a width of 60 or 6.9%. And I actually just wanted to keep this size here. And so let's see what happens. So now I'm just going to start pulling this down. We do see a little bit of responsiveness here, and that's because of this docking. And yeah. So, and I'll explain that in a little bit. What's going on, Night Owl? Night Owl says, I'm good. Missed the stream yesterday. Wasn't aware that there was one yesterday. Well, my friend, I am trying to get better at figuring out where are the best places to, notify you guys when we're doing live streams. For example, I tried to announce when, at least a couple days or the day before of when live streams are going out. But I would also, this is probably where I would love to hear your feedback on what is probably best for you. I do have a newsletter, but a lot of the people in the Discord aren't on that. It's my personal newsletter. And yeah, we're, out of curiosity, I know that you get the events for like the Wednesdays, like our, those are pretty evident in the Discord. Are those more helpful than things like emails and or just at everyone's in the Discord? Because if so, I can totally just make content events that everybody sees and can actually join. So, all right, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and fix this. So we have a docking here where it's an 8% margin. I actually want to keep this to a pixel size, so that when I scale this, everything basically stays where it should be. We do not have a scaling of the Pokemon. We don't have a scaling of the social elements here. So that's all looking good. So let's go to tablets, fine. This mobile is what's going to be the problem. Now, one of the things I do want to explain as to why this, Pokeball is not resizing like everything else was, is because yesterday we decided to actually keep these to a very specific pixel width. And again, this was my executive decision as to just help me make this project a little bit easier, because I like to work between percentages and pixels, because sometimes, like I said in part 1 yesterday, there are a lot of times where I like to keep things a fixed size because they either move around too much or the responsiveness, things move around too much because of the responsiveness, and the percentages make it very difficult to calculate how to keep things together. So for this, if I use pixels, it's a fixed size, and I can make sure that at every breakpoint things are, for example, these Pokeballs, these Pokeballs, the top and the bottom, I want to make sure that they keep and stay in a constant relationship. If I had just set this to maybe a percentage, I feel like, if not the container percent, you see how like the squeezing of the page opens the Pokeball? I don't want to have to deal with all that. And that's because the width is a percentage versus going back to a pixel width, where when I drag something to be somewhere, these two top and bottom Pokeballs, they will stay at that pixel sizing without a doubt. Night Owl saying I'm 24/7 on Discord, so I get many notifications there, and what's your newsletter? So Night Owl, it was a old newsletter from a lot of the stuff that I was doing in regards to design news, design resources, but now it's pretty much, the newsletter has just been converted to keeping you guys abreast of really what is going to happen in terms of all the events, all the content that we're producing here with Editor X. So that's really what it's turned. It's just another way to notify you guys, for those who are not in the Discord, to have the same information as those in the Discord do. So that's the news. That's the news, right? All the content within it is the YouTube stuff that we're, all the announcements that we're doing for Editor X, if that makes sense. Okay, so I just wanted to explain why our Pokeball is a particular pixel size, because we don't want to have to deal with the resizing. As demonstrated, if we change this from 566 pixels to percentage, and we start squeezing our artboard here, that Pokeball starts to, or this container that's within starts to adjust percentagely, and we don't want to have to deal with that. So setting this back pixels, and we should be good to go. Nope, it's the wrong pixel size. There we go, 566. All right, let's go to mobile, and all I'm going to do here is, let's see, I should be able to just center this, but I highly doubt it. Okay, so why I can't center this is there is content basically overflowing here. As you guys can see this, there's basically this large, all this content over here, and part of that is the Pokeball. So what we have to do first is we need to make sure. Oh, Night also was like, I mean, how do I subscribe to the newsletter? I will get you on the newsletter after this. I have basically closed that how you get into the newsletter like a long time ago, but I can definitely, if that's something, I haven't fully integrated it into how we're marketing everything here. Still work in progress, but I can definitely after this get you in on that list. So no worries. Let me see though. Okay, so like I said, our first order of, or our first plan of attack to fix this is I need to comb through and figure out what elements are basically going and making our viewport stretch here. So that essentially I need to bring everything centered, because what this section, what this Pokeball section that I have, let me close everything here. So this box, it's too large. So one of the things that I'm going to try to do, let's see if we bring it to 300. There we go, we bring that. And even if I center this, it still thinks that the center is somewhere in between here, which means that there's other things overreaching, which are obviously our text, and so on and so forth. So let's try to pull everything, as much as everything as we can, to the center. So one of the first things I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go to edit text, and I'm going to add a scale text to this. The largest we want this text to be is about, let's say 70 pixels. But the smallest we want this to be is around, let's say 40. And we'll just keep messing with this. Maybe it's 60. All right. Maybe 60 is a little too big. But let's go ahead and let's see where everything else is. Oh, Brian, thank you so much. I didn't know the music was that high. I appreciate it. And Naito, I'm glad it sounds like a plan. But let me know if the music is too hot, guys. I appreciate that, Brian, because I think I accidentally turned it up a little bit yesterday. Alright, choose your Pokemon. I still think this is a little too big. Let me go ahead and drop this to 50 here. And let's see. I have a feeling, let's work on this. I'm just going to manually start dragging things. So this Pokemon image, I'm going to start pulling this over here. Just using my keyboard. The reason I'm not dragging it is because there's content on top of it. Let's go ahead and, in the layers panel, I mean. Let's go back to choose. Where we are. Choose your Pokemon. I'm going to also pull this on over. Use my arrow keys. Alright, I'm going to decrease the size a little bit more. We're going to set this to about 40 pixels. That looks like a much better size. Find it again. Where are we? Choose your... Okay. And let's go back to our Pokeball piece here. Pokeball container, which is our large piece. Let's go ahead and set this to 400 for right now. Let's set it to 300. Just trying to find a good size for this. There we go. Now you see how everything is kind of shifted. Let's see. So we have other things, like the other things, what they are these pieces. So we kind of have to attack these two things. So we have this, that screen. And then we also have this one. And some of the content, like the text, is way too large. We're going to have to minimize that. And by the way, one of the things I did add yesterday, if you guys see a little bit of this confetti here, I actually dropped in a Lottie animation in back of the Pokeball. And all I did was I I mean, I thought it was a pretty cool effect. I was like, hey, I want to make it so that when the ball is actually opened, it is almost like a little bit of a surprise. So what I went ahead and did is I went to basically, let me see if I can find it. We have our Pokeball container, we have our ball, and we have our confetti. So all I did to really have that effect is I went out and did, let's see, embed in social. And I got a Lottie animation. I just dragged it out. I'm going to drag it over here. I'm going to change the animation. And I get to click this link. Essentially, I just go here, change animation here. And I get to pick from any sort of non-backgrounded animation. I can type in here too. So all I did was I typed in confetti. I found one that I like. I think it was this one. And I just copied this right here. Went back to Editor X, pasted my link right here. And when I preview, it should have shown up. Let me see here. We got play on loop, change animation. I wonder if I also put it on let me see. Yeah, I put it on the invisible layer. Let me Control X that. Go to my section. Let's paste it. There we go. There's our Lottie animation. I'm gonna left align it really quickly so we can move it over here, away from the Pokeball. And I hope that I just didn't put it back into. I did. I keep putting it back into the invisible container by manually dragging it. So I'm gonna just left align it here. Use my arrow keys to just move it just a little bit more, and I'm gonna hit preview. And so this is the Lottie animation. Essentially, I just have this on loop behind the Pokeball, but essentially, like we did yesterday with our hover interactions and our click interactions, when I click this, the confetti goes from 0 opacity to 100 opacity, and I think it scales a little bit. So it was really cool. So boom, Pokeball, very nicely. So I just wanted to show you guys how I incorporated the Lottie animations into this, and if you guys want to check it out, or if you haven't used that feature yet in Editor X, highly recommend you do. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just take that Lottie animation out. I'm just gonna go ahead and delete that, and let us continue. All right, so we have our piece here. We're still working through this. We have our text. Now, one of the things that we are going to have to do, let me do a preview here. So I need to pull all these elements together, and I might even stack this. We'll see. Because I feel like the text is a little underwhelming now. What do you guys think? All right, so bulb container, we're gonna leave that alone. Let's just work on the Pokeball for now. So we got our shadow. I'm gonna center this here. For our Pokeball, we're gonna make sure that this stuff is in the center of the container. And make sure that this is 50, or I'm gonna set this, I'm gonna see what happens. I'm gonna set this to 100% of the, nope, let's not do that. Let's see. We're trying to find good sizings for the things inside of here. We're basically gonna have to pair everything back up and just find, we're gonna have to try some things. All right, so first thing, I'm gonna go into my ball. I'm gonna start moving around these assets, specifically the bottom here. I'm gonna start pulling this up just using my arrow keys, and I'm gonna match it with the top part of the Pokeball here. And so with this whole container, what I think I'm gonna do is this height, I'm gonna set to, I wanna say auto, but I feel like that's gonna mess it up. Oh, that works, interesting. All right, I'm gonna center this here. And let's find out why it's not centering. All right, we got the Pokeball container. We have some margin on this. We have a shadow piece. I wonder what is making it so that it has a little bit of an offset, if you guys can see that. So my first goal here is to try to figure out where essentially everything is. Let's see. Shadow, All right, let's take a look at this. So we have a width of 300. Height really doesn't matter. But why? Let me see if I try to center this stuff. If honestly, what I could do just to like save my life, and really just keep moving with this is, or a little bit of a hack I would do, is I would just do like a negative margin here, but I know that's gonna kick me in my butt rather than just, or it's gonna kick me in the butt later versus actually trying to figure out why things aren't centered. Let me see. But out of curiosity, you know, for those of you guys watching, how do you feel about EditorX? Are there any things that, you know, in Hover, or even in the platform in general that you've enjoyed, things that you have questions about? How can I help you guys today? Whether that, and also feel free, you don't have to talk about EditorX. We can literally just have a conversation openly about, you know, things that you all are curious about: design, no code, you know, the future of UI UX, product design, things of that nature. Like, we're trying to make these a little bit more open form, not just tutorial-esque, but another time and place that we can actually come together, talk, and also watch me kind of make the sausage of you know, an interesting project as well. So we're trying out a little bit of a new format, see how it works. It's a little bit of education for both me and you guys. But I am a little stumped. Let me do, because even if I did 100% of this, right? Oh, there's something still outlying then. So when I did 100% of this container, it still thinks that there's stuff over to the side, and I still guarantee you it's probably this bulb container. Yeah, here we go. It's already out here. So let me go ahead and try and edit that stuff. So I am going to set this bulb container that has 0 opacity on the initial. I'm going to set that to 100 so I can edit this stuff first. Okay. This container, I am going to have 0 margin. There we go. I'm going to reduce the Bulbasaur piece here. So edit text. We're going to kind of do the same thing as we did in the front and the back. Or what we did on the first part of the page with scaling the text. We're doing that here as well. So I'm going to set this to about maybe, let's set this to 80 pixels minimum. And maybe we'll do 80 cap. And maybe 50 minimum. Testimony saying, so can I use Figma instead of EditorX? Testimony, that is a great question. The thing is, Figma, or just design platforms in general, are very different than what EditorX is used for. Figma is typically used for design platforms, Adobe XD, Figma. They are used to design platforms, or they're used for design, the design process, collaboration, things like that. However, some people do use EditorX purely for that. There is somebody that, I think there's quite a few people who do that, honestly. And it's just like how some people just work in one tool in the design industry versus using all other tools. Some people are they're happy to be one product, one platform ponies, which there's nothing wrong about that. It's just they are super efficient in building with what they're working in, if that makes sense. So some people just, you know, for example, some people who use Adobe XD don't even need or feel the need to use Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever. They use and create everything in Adobe XD, where for myself, I use Adobe XD, I use Photoshop, I use Illustrator, but bring everything back into Adobe XD. Some people do the same with EditorX. Some people just design everything, use the templates, etc. in EditorX, and that's pretty much what they do. So there's no replacement one another. There's no one that is better than one another. The only thing that stands out for me is that with your design platforms, Adobe XD, EditorX, Adobe XD, any other software or platform, they are not real living things. I do know that Adobe XD has started to create some no-code things inside of their platform where you can actually create a site out of your design documents, but EditorX is like a true real life build of what it is that you're designing. So I hope that makes sense for and is an answer that you were looking for. If not, ask again, and I'll definitely answer your question. Okay, we're here basically for the next couple hours together. So what I've done here is I've minimized our text here, but one of the things that we do need to actually change is this grid system. If you guys see this, we have our Bulbasaur here to the left, we have our our text here, and things are kind of getting squished. So I'm going to click on this container and I'm going to change grid layout. I'm going to go to advanced mode, and what I want to do essentially is I want to remove, let's see, I'm going to have to hit done really quick because this is actually a error that I think a couple of you guys are having, including myself, where you can't necessarily see the top of the grid layout here. And so what I'm going to try to do here is either zoom out here using Control minus, or, which is not working, I am going to, for a hot second, I'm going to have to create, I'm going to add a new section. So let me go to my layers here. I'm just going to make I'm going to add a new section. I'm just gonna add this up, not attach, new. All right, I'm just gonna add a new section here. Add blank. I'm gonna go to my layers, and I'm just gonna put on top of the other section, only as a placeholder because I want to see these options, and you guys will see what I'm talking about. Change grid layout, advanced. These ones, these are important. Because what I want to do is I want to set this. First off, I'm gonna delete the column. I only want one. I'm gonna set this to 1FR. Hit done there. And that way, what I can do here, I'm going to go back to change grid layout again. I want to add a new row, and I want to add a little bit more space to these pieces here. So I'm going to set a 90 pixels height for our logo area. I'm going to set a little bit larger area for this area will be for our Bulbasaur, so probably around that size. And I am going to minimize this piece here, maybe we'll do 400 pixels for right now for our text, maybe 300. Someone in the chat says, I've been on the wrong video for the invite for the last 28 minutes. Did I send out a wrong link to you guys? Hyacinth, and if I did, I'm so sorry. There's a lot of I'm pretty sure that I double checked everything, but I know there's a lot of things in a lot of places, so I just want to double check if I did do that, to not do that again. But also glad to have you here, my friend. Night Owl was saying in the live chat, yeah, that's what I like about EditorX. You get the most of what you need for free. You can build just about every aspect of your website without making too much of a commitment. Exactly. If your project is successful, you can add in more advanced stuff later. One of my favorite cosplayers uses the free Wix tier, and it works for what she needs. Exactly. And let's see. Yeah, pretty much Night Owl. And it's just really flexible, and you can use it to how you want to use it. So as you can see, testimony, Night Owl knows what's going on, and so do many other people. Brian is also saying we can use EditorX to sell things like add payment methods and add cart, etc. Yes, all that is included. I actually would like to do, I'm going to switch my view here real quick. I actually would like to do some longer form e-commerce website stuff and actually be able to work through some of those things with you all live. And I don't know, I'm really digging these live conversations a little bit more. I would love to know what you guys think. Would you guys prefer, I actually might even put a poll if I figure out how. But I would love to know from you guys who are watching or just who are in the Discord channel in our community, if you would prefer more longer form live stream videos where you guys can see and actually have a conversation with me, or would you actually just like me to show up and teach a very specific thing? You know, what would be more valuable to you? So for those in the chat, I'm just gonna type in really quick. And also, I should probably put this as a whatchamacallit. I put this as a poll in the Discord as well. Let me see. And I feel like I've asked this question like a couple times, and whatchamacallit? Did I? Oh. I feel like a lot of people wanted like it ended up being voting like 50-50. Night Owls, longer form live streams might be better. See, that's what I feel like, and also it's not only more fun, but it's like more so of like a conversation that we can have on a daily basis. And I think I like that. I enjoy that, and also I get to make cooler, more large projects that you guys can really see the full depth of Editor X, and we can kind of, you guys can put me in the background. I'll talk about crazy stuff. I mean, obviously appropriate things. But, you know, you guys let me know. Okay, so I've made our top for our logo here. I'm also going to remove some of these lines here. We don't need these anymore, so I'm just going to click on that. Don't display. Brian, this is not what I meant. I didn't mean crazy things. I just, you know. Oh, and that's not what I meant, Brian. Obviously, we're going to do pre-recorded things, but it's whether or not we want to do more live stream things. That doesn't mean anything about... We will always do... whatchamacallit? We will always do pre-recorded stuff. That stuff is just needed in general. But for the educational portion, you know, that information is highly important for us to know. Okay, so let's go back. We still have some things that we need to move. Our container, let's move this to the center. Bulbasaur, we're going to move this right here. And I can move all this stuff easily because we're using grids. If I was not using grids and I was trying to move this from container to container, it would actually move. It would not be responsive. But if I'm using grids, I can very easily mismatch and move things. Okay, we have our container here. We have a width of 40. We're gonna set this to 80. Center that. Let's see. So there's still stuff that's poking over, and I have to figure out what is poking over. Let's select our section. Let's see how large it is. So we have 100% VH, and we have the overflow content set to hide. So I'm going to set this to... What happens if I set it to show? There's going to be a lot of problems here. Oh, first off, let's go ahead and delete this section. We no longer need that. Delete that. Okay. Let's see. All right, we still have a little bit of content that seems to be overflowing. Again, let's try to figure this out just like we did last time. So we have 80% here. I wonder if I set this to, I'm gonna set this to 100%, this paragraph here. Okay. I'm also going to make it so that there's a little bit less space between content. So maybe 20 pixels. What is this? Ah, this image. I don't think we need this image anymore. Or maybe what we should do, and what this image is essentially, it's that little clip that is blocking out the background here. I think what I might do is I'm gonna set this to 100% width. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna set this to don't display, and I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna add another image in here. So I'm gonna set this to don't display, and I'm actually going to use this bulb container I might actually turn the background of this up and actually set this to that blue. There we go. That looks good. Hold on. Dimma, what's going on? Hi to all my friends. Dimma is glad to see you and have you here again. How are you doing? And Brian says more content is always better. Honestly, that's the best way to go about it, and more people, we get to learn better that way. All right, so essentially what I have done here, I think I did it, bulb container. I'm essentially just trying to figure out where and what pieces of content within this particular container is making our, is pushing our content over. Oh, there it is. It's our little, what's we call it? It's our little close button. So I'm going to take our close button and I'm just gonna pull this in with my arrow keys here. Okay, we still have a little bit of a thing going on here. Oh, it was this line. Okay, with this line, I'm going to set this to, 100% for now. Actually, let me go ahead and don't display this right now. See if that helps any. Helps a little bit, but not too much. Let's keep going through some of the other line items. Let's go to, we have this image that is, we've put on don't display. This is fine, this is fine. We're good here. I could have sworn it was probably the lines. I wonder what else. The social, it's not pushing over. Let's go ahead and change this. I'm gonna set this to 0. Bulbasaur. I'm just trying to fix the, whatchamacallit, our containers here. Change grid layout, advanced mode. Let's see, we have max content. I think we need to add another row here. Container, change gray. Here we go. Add row. Okay. So that new row, that's exactly where I'm going to put our 0, 1. I'm going to take that, go to my inspector, boom. And I am going to plop that and make sure it is in. I want to make sure that is in the correct grid cell. Andrew Patty says, hey Brandon, I sent the pictures of my issue over in the Discord whenever you have a moment to take a look. Thanks again. Much love, Andrew. I'll get to it as soon as I can after this live stream. Thank you so much for asking your question, and we hope to basically make it so that you guys continuously come to this community, get your questions answered, because we have the best customer service, okay? Not just the best customer service, but we're trying to help teach you guys and help you on your journey to make really cool things easily without any code in Editor X. So happy for you know, trusting us with your question. I'm excited to answer it. So Night Owl was also saying, well, any long form detailed content would be beneficial. All right, we'll do that, and then we'll cut our short form content from these puppies. We'll figure it out and feel it out as we go. All right, so what I want to do is we have this 0, 1 here, right? And I feel like I'm going a little crazy here. There should be a position in which I can set location in grid cell. For large grids, set this. Oh, it no longer has. Why? Maybe I got like an older version or something, because this is the old version of, for example, like location in the grid cell where it has like this, and I can set the location. Right? I get to actually select which grid cell something goes in, but down here, for whatever reason, it's showing like the old school one. So I'm going to set this to row 1. Okay. And I am going to change layout again, advanced mode. This we don't need. I'm going to delete that. There we go. Okay, so things are nice and stacked. So we're going through. I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller, so we're gonna set this to about 20 pixels, maybe 25. Yeah, Night Owl says they've been working on grids and stuff. See, this is why I love not only live streaming, but the stuff like people know just so much. And Night Owl has been like telling us profusely in the Discord, like, y'all been seeing the grid cells? He doesn't talk like that. That's me. That's literally me. But you know, he's been bringing to our attention a lot of the stuff about like the grid cells, making sure that we all know kind of what's going on with them, and we actually get to learn a little bit faster in terms of like things to watch out for, things that are maybe coming down the pipeline. It's just beneficial when you have a group of people who you're within the community with, where we're learning like 2 to 3 times faster in general. So shout out to him for constantly being in the community, helping, asking questions, and helping us all figure out how to do what we were trying to do a little bit better. All right, so what I want to do here, so we have the grids here. You see how it's in 2 grid cells here? I want to set this just to 1, just like this. Now what I do need to do is also go to that container, edit the grid cell, and make sure that this is the proper size. So right here, it's at a fixed height. We actually want to set this to max content so everything fits in there. There we go. Okay, so now everything is basically, it's smushed in there, but all we need to do is now select this container that has all this content, and we actually just create the space that we want for all the content, and the container that it's all within will expand appropriately. Dimma says, good virtual hug. What about the stream content? Long time didn't watch it. Wait, hold on. What about the stream's content? Long time didn't watch it. It's still challenges or long live stream. Oh, got you. So Dimma, an update to kind of what we've been doing. I know it's been a while. We are starting to do long form content like what you're seeing here, but they are going to be involved or incorporated with monthly or semi-monthly or quarterly, we haven't figured out yet, challenges. For example, right now we are working on this project here, specifically using hover, and in my case I decided to use click interactions because I want to try it out. But we're basically creating this project in the name, or because we have an EditorX challenge that is around hover interactions. So we have some hover interactions in this project because we have this, and the link for this is down in the description. I talked a little bit about what exactly the prizes are. It's really cool. So we really love for you guys to get involved in this, because not only are we doing cool things with you all, but it will help us as we it would help us with how we structure our content, if that makes sense. So if you guys actually show up and you are enjoying these live streams and you're supporting them, that shows us that the involvement or our time involved in creating these challenges for you guys to help improve you all as well are worthwhile, I guess. It's cool things that we're doing, but it helps tremendously that these live streams support the challenge, and the challenge supports the live stream. So we're just trying to find the best way to teach you guys what it is that you want, bring you guys what it is that you want, and find different outlets for that. So if it's pre-recorded content, live stream content, challenges, how does that all fit together, and what do you guys like most, and what benefits you the best? So that's kind of what I'm trying to trying to figure out. All right, so 80% of people really dug the long form. Even though there's 5 votes in there, I will definitely take this data in consideration with what we find in our Discord as well. Okay, so this container here, I'm gonna take this container here that has all of the evolutions here, and I'm gonna set this width to 100%. There we go. I'm gonna do the same with this social container here. Rather than 10% width, we're gonna set this to about 80. Maybe we'll do 50. We'll just center that. There's still some things that are like over, what's I'm gonna call it, that aren't where they should be. And I gotta figure out what that is. There is something, it's like this thing right here, whatever this thing is. I'm gonna pull this in just like this. Let's see what happens. No, it's still showing 100. Okay, let's figure this out. So I'm gonna set this to 360 for now as a, oh god, 360 as a pixel width. Okay, that's not gonna solve the problem. It's gonna create a fixed size for the container, but it's not what exactly we want. We need to figure out what other content in this section is pushing. I think this might be it. Pokeball container. That's still pushing outside. So we have 100% width. Let's go ahead and set this to 360. Oh, 360%. 360 pixels. Let's just do. Let's do 320. And let's try to center that. Using my arrow keys. Using my arrow keys for now. Alright, let me see. And for those of you who are popping up, we've finished this particular project yesterday. Well, we didn't finish. We are currently tightening it up and reworking it. But I'm really happy with this. We have our hover interaction. All this was done without code. Click, we get some confetti action with our Pokeball, and we get some nice hover interactions with our first Pokemon, Bulbasaur. We can close this, everything goes back, Pokeball closes. Sweet, delicious, amazing. And we got a little bit of a background a little video in the background too. It's probably super faint to where you guys can't see it, but it is there. So now we're just making it responsive, and we are trying to right now kind of troubleshoot where we have some overflow happening, essentially, where there's this white space here, and it might be this, where it's like overflow content show. Let's see if we go back to hide. There we go. All right, so essentially we had changed everything to show. Basically what overflow content does is if things, for example, go outside of our let's explain like this. So let's say we have a whole bunch of boxes, right? We have this whole container that has all this content. If that is housed within inside of this container here, or inside of this section, what have you, whatever. So if I decided to take this container and move it outside of the viewport, where it's kind of going outside of the screen here, when I have this section set to hide, it will not show any of this. I don't even get that horizontal bar to scroll. But if I do it to show, now I get that horizontal bar and I get to see all this content that's off to the side. So to avoid having those issues, I set my section to hide and I set the height to 100% viewport height for now, but I think now I'm gonna set this to auto so that it fits all the content that we have in here. And as I adjust, make space, etc., the section will actually grow as I change the layout. Okay, so now I'm gonna select, we have my evolution here. I am gonna add some padding, or margin rather. I'm gonna set this to 20 pixels at the bottom. I'm gonna select these images here, their container. I'm gonna add some margin again here. I'm gonna set this to 50 so that we get some space between, actually, rather than that, I'm actually gonna add margin to the entire, to the entire bottom of the container that this stuff is in. So I'm gonna set this to 50 so that that pushes the space between this content here and our footer here. And I'm also gonna do that, so I'm gonna select this container of our social here, and I'm gonna add 50 pixels to the bottom there, just so we have some breathing room. But so far we're looking pretty good. I feel like I want even more space. So we have this, maybe I also wanna bring this to the left so that there's Pokemon on the left, and we have this on the right. There we go. But how are you guys feeling about this so far? Are you digging it? Are you not? Yay or nay? How are we? I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna give us a little bit more room, give us maybe 35 pixels. And come in here, maybe 10. All right, but now let's kind of see what's going on here. All right, so we have this. We want to set this to 100%. Now, there we go. Okay. So this is our smallest breakpoint. Now let's kind of see how all this works. Now my expectation is when I go through all my breakpoints, right? 1, 2, 3, and I get it visualized how I want it to look. Now I kind of go the reverse. Now I go from the smallest and I take these to resize and see where things go out of whack. For example, I don't like how close everything is here. So what that tells me is I want to make sure that I add some margin to the top and bottom of this Bulbasaur. And I also want it left aligned with this content. So I'm gonna go back to the small size. I'm gonna bring this over to the left. Make sure I get that alignment right there. I am going to dock this to the top and bottom and to the left here. And I want it to basically on the top and bottom of the Bulbasaur to keep about 40 pixels from the top and bottom. So now when I scale this, whoops, scale proportionately, I want to make sure that I have that checked. So scale proportionately. All right, it kept the top piece here, but let's go ahead and dock this to the bottom. Well, let's see if I can just do 40 pixels here. Scale proportionately. All right, there we go. So now we have this image is docked to the left and the right, and we're keeping 10% margin from the left, margin 40 pixels from the top and bottom. This has inspired me for some stuff when this business grows. I'm glad, man. What has inspired you the most, if you can put it into words? One of the things I also might want to do is maybe I can make this text a little bit smaller. I do think it's nice and readable, but either I want to make some more room, or let's just make some more room. Bulbasaur, maybe we'll go ahead and I'll make it a little bit larger. Maybe we start it at 80. All right, 75 will do it. Okay. All right, so let's see. This is looking good for us. We do need to work on this. Again, this is probably a good reason to set this not only to percentage, but to pixels. So let's go through that again. Probably same thing with the Pokemon thing here, just to keep it at a pixel size. You know, I'm not trying to deal with that too much. Let's go here, pixel size. All right, let's go ahead and make this 38 pixels. And let's go to the margins here. So we have about, I'm gonna set this to 10% on the right, and I'm gonna set this to about 10% on the left. Maybe we'll do it a little bit less, because there is some space, some extra space in the actual graphic. So maybe we'll do 2%. Let's go ahead and do, let's do 5. Maybe we'll make it a little bit bigger. Let's do 42. And I think that works for me. Maybe I'll also scale this just a little bit more. Center that. I think that's working for me. Another thing we could experiment with is making sure that this is an actual button down below that can actually close it. We could actually even, you know, make this a container and make sure that it's sticky as we scroll. There's a couple things that we can do. So, but before we actually do all of that, let's go to this bulb container. Let's go ahead and set this back to our adjustment initial. We want it to be hidden at 100 or 0 opacity. And now we have this to go back and fix, which is our Pokeball. Okay, so now that everything is properly centered, let's go back into our Pokeball and let's fix how this stuff is aligning. This stuff is still not going back to the center, and I wonder why. I wonder if it's because the content within it. Yeah, like this shine here is it's pretty large, so I'm gonna close that. Probably gonna have to do I'm gonna have to remake pretty much this whole thing, I believe. Yeah, so this white shine, we're gonna pull this in. That will probably help. Okay. Let's get this ball. Let's center it again. Let's take our white shine. Let's center this. The center is still... Alright, let's figure this out, guys. So this center is now fine. This is not in the center. Okay. Let's see about this image here. This might be a culprit too. So let's turn on this green gradient that we have. Let's turn the, turn the opacity to 100. Let's see. I'm gonna minimize this, because I wonder what 100% of this looks like. All right, that's fine. 100% width, 100% height. Okay, let's set that back to 0 opacity. That looks totally fine. But now with this ball, I can manually put it in the center, but I want it mathematically in the center. So let's figure, let's do 80%. What does that do? Let's put this back to 50. Okay. Maybe I'm gonna undock these and see what happens. Or maybe I'm gonna turn on, I'm gonna just don't display pretty much everything. I'm gonna try to reverse engineer how we got into this mess to dig our way out. All right, this ball, let's see, center, nope. Bottom, I'm gonna turn off this shine piece. And we're just gonna start from basics. We're just gonna try to just get the ball and see why it's not horizontally and vertically sitting where we want. All right, we have this confetti, which is definitely super large. There we go, it was the confetti. Okay, so I'm gonna set this confetti, I'm gonna sit it at 300 pixels. I can center this now, beautiful. Our Pokeball is now definitely centered. So that's like the troubleshooting, guys. Like that is part of the game. Like you, and this isn't designed to. It's like, why didn't that work? Why didn't that work? Why doesn't that look right? Like if you guys watched yesterday's build of this build looks so much different than what we ended up with yesterday at the end of the stream. Like if I just go to let me go to site really quick and go to site history. I'm gonna show you how we ended yesterday and how it looks today. All right, so we were working on this pretty late last night, but let's go back to when the stream ended, which was probably around this time. So let's take a look at it. Oop, nope. Let's try this. This is probably more so when we were done. Well, that was literally a version. We were not even close to what we have today. Is basically what I'm trying to say to you guys. Like I think we got like the glow, we got that, and like this was pretty much like it was not as clean. It was just like whoop, whoop. So very happy about where we have gotten this within just a little bit of extra, you know, smoothing out of things. Okay, so we have our ball here. I am going to pull up the bottom here. I'm just going to move my arrow keys up a little bit, or down rather. Trying to match this. There we go. The ball here, we want to set a specific height for right now. I'm just going to set this to 150. 150 px. So I'm going to set this to 300. Not, 300 pixels by 300 pixels. There we go. It's going to actually set the size. Maybe we'll do by 450. And I'm going to take this bottom here. I'm going to undock it just for now, because I'm going to use my arrow keys to just match the top and the bottom together. Just like this. Got our top. We're good. Now that these two are pretty much where I want them, I think what I'm going to do is top and bottom, I pretty much have docked to the top. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to our ball container that's holding our Pokeball. I'm going to set the height from a fixed pixel width to an auto. Now it has scrunched the ball and it's holding the ball, the top and bottom of the ball, in the actual height both of them together create. Just again, another shortcut for me where I don't have to continuously do the math. All right, we have a Pokeball container. And if you guys, if anything I'm saying is like, Brandon, that doesn't make any sense, please slow down or explain that. I totally can. Because we have time and now I'm not rushed. All right, I'm going to choose your Pokemon here. I'm going to do, I kind of want to do a little bit larger. So I'm going to do about 60. And as you guys can see, this has already started to push out our boundary again. Our ball is no longer in the center. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take our width and I'm going to bring this to a specific pixel count, which is 3. Maybe I'll do 300. See what that looks like. There we go. So we have basically 2 lines. I do want to edit the line height here. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to click off auto spacing, and I'm just going to find a size that I like, or spacing that I like. Maybe around there. Choose your Pokemon. Looks good. And I am now going to go to layers. I'm going to close all of our Bulbasaur containers because we are done with those. Let's go back to our ball here. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to actually dock it to the top. Or not dock this one to the top. I'm going to dock this Pokeball container here, which I'm going to set the height of to, again, auto. So again, it's the exact height that our combined top and bottom Pokeball are. And I'm going to bring that to, I'm going to align it to the top here so it goes all the way up. But then I'm just going to use my arrow keys, or I can just very simply drag this here. Bring it down to the center. Okay. Oops, hold on. I'm just going to use my arrow keys really quick. Because as you guys saw, if you read that message, where it was basically as I was dragging it, and because I'm dragging it over top of other containers, it's basically like, hey, do you want to put this container in these containers? And I don't. So that's essentially what it was asking me. So I'm going to use my arrow keys just to avoid the, what's we call it? Me dragging the Pokeball into other containers. All right, now, so we have, let's go ahead and preview this. So we have our Pokeball, we have the little turn animation that's still working, our shadow animation is working, but our shine is not. And I know when we click this, we have our nice little Pokemon animation here, and pretty much almost everything else works. But now what we need to do is we need to turn on our shine that is in our Pokeball. So we're going to turn this on, and this on. And our shine, we are going to have to actually reduce the size of this, because I believe our shine is there. We are going to have to move them. But everything is coming together, guys. So let's go back to, again, closing our bulb containers. Confetti, that is nicely in the center. Our white shine, we are going to turn this puppy back on. So preview, click, boom. All right, our white shine is looking good. We're still going to move our little red stuff. So to do that, I'm just going to go and click on them in our layers panel, and I'm going to drop over to our little adjustment panel right here. And let me see. So it says it's at 100 opacity, but it is not. So I'm going to go to interactions, effects. I'm going to try to get our little shiny thingies, our little pieces here to actually show. So let me see here. Opacity is 100%. Let's go to the initial state here. And it's actually funny. I have no idea why. Why they're not showing. Let me select this one really quick. Let's go to... Oh, here we go. We're not using the regular opacity. We're using image opacity. So let me turn this up all the way. And I'm just going to use my arrow keys to move that red exactly where I want on the canvas. Right about there. I'm going to set this back to 0 opacity. I'm going to go to the small piece here, image opacity, and turn that all the way up. And I'm going to just align this using my arrow keys to the center of my Pokeball little circle thing there. All right, there we go. Let's go to preview. Oh, I need to turn that off on the initial state. So let's go back to the small shine, image opacity, set that to 0 for the initial state, and go back to preview. So it's looking good. Our shadow is pretty low down here. So actually that honestly, it looks fine. It looks good. Now, one of the other things that I need to do is we have a title shadow right up here. So I'm going to scale this just using my mouse. And I'm going to make sure that it is centered. Okay, let's go to publish. And so essentially, and I'm not actually seeing it. I have to actually look. But what it should be doing, and I think it is when I hover over here, just like there's a little bit of a shadow down here, there should be a little bit of a shadow behind choose your Pokemon, and I think I do see that. So when we click this, boom, it opens, and we do have to edit how fast that screen actually comes in, because as soon as I click it, it's coming and sliding in. Boom. But I'm pretty happy with this. But I just want to decrease or increase the actual time it takes for that slide to come over. And what we might actually have to do is we might have to duplicate, because a lot of what happens, or not a lot of what happens, when it comes to animations in Editor X, you have to, they stay consistent from desktop to mobile to tablet. And for me to actually change the timings for this whole bulb container will require me changing and really make me change everything on every single breakpoint, which was not what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this bulb container and we're going to duplicate it. Control D. And I'm going to call this one the main one, or the original. We're going to call this desktop. We're going to hide this. Don't display. And we're going to rename this one bulb container mobile. All right. So now we're going to go back to our ball trigger. We talked a lot about this yesterday, making it so that, you know, when we are creating, when you're creating a hover or click interaction, you have to have somebody that or something that causes a reaction or whatnot. And so what we did yesterday is this whole ball, when it's hovered over and or is clicked, something happens. We are applying or toggling an effect. So what I need to add is, because we are removing this desktop effect being toggled when we click the ball, So if we go to ball and let's go to this interactions over here, we have this ball, move, and shine. That is our hover interaction that is triggered by essentially hovering over this. So for example, when we hover over this ball container, a couple things happen. The hover, we have this move and shine effect being applied. The tiny shadows opacity goes from 0 to 100. There's a whole bunch of different things. The ball rotates. We're calling a whole bunch of different functions. So now what we want to do is on desktop, we have on click, we have a couple things happening. So we have the bulb container, we have that come in. But now what we're going to do is we're going to add a new interaction. We're going to choose on canvas what we want to have essentially move, and we're going to select our bulb container for mobile. We're going to hit done. So we're going to apply an effect. We're going to toggle on and off. Our action type is toggle on and off an effect, and we are going to do a bulb container display. Okay, we're going to preview. That essentially, this effect was created on the original desktop version. So when we duplicated the mobile container, that effect stayed with it. But now what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to edit it specifically for our mobile animation. I know that was a lot, but I hope you guys can wrap your brain around that, and we'll just go ahead and do it. So I'm going to hit done. I'm going to go to my bulb container mobile, go to effects, and we should have this right here, bulb container display. I'm going to edit it, and we are going to set. We basically have 1 minute or 1 second and 1.4 seconds in which it takes this to actually animate in. But I want to change that. So first, let's see how this goes. All right, so that is the animation. Let's go back to timing. Let's do, maybe we'll do 2 seconds. And leave this to 2.5. So I'm basically saying, hey, start at 2 seconds to start moving the animation, start moving the content in, and take about 0.5 seconds to do the entire thing. But it doesn't look like it's taking that. So let's do, and I also want to make sure that changing this actually did not change what we have on the desktop. So I'm going to go over here, edit. All right, cool. It stayed the same. So let's see, let's do preview. Let's just see if everything is pretty much boom, click. All right. And we still have a little bit of whatchamacallit. We have some lines here that we don't want. Let's click that. All right, we got a few things that we got to add. So we got to rebuild some things. But let's see, this was part of, we're learning. All right, so we're here. When we click this, first off, let's go ahead and just make sure that this is aligned top and bottom. Click this, boom. Hey, what's going on, Simon? Glad to have you here, man. We are trying to work through building and reconstructing some of our stuff for mobile. So let's see, we have Pokeball open. We also have Pokeball close. But what we need to do, boom, let's go to triggers. Let me see, because we have this gradient display. I am going to select our I'm going to go to our bulb mobile here, and I'm going to select this image, our closeout here. I'm going to make sure that this has, Okay, we need to add another interaction because so far it says, it's basically saying we're going to toggle on and off the display of the Bulbasaur container, which is great. But now we also want to make sure when we click this that our gradient image here, I'm going to make sure I'm selecting it, we are toggling an effect, which is our gradient display, so it actually shows and hides. So let's preview this. We click, boom. All right, we still are going to edit how quickly this comes in. Click out, boom, and now we should be able to actually condense that Pokeball. So we're gonna have to add a whole bunch of other toggles in here. So selecting our, and to also double check which things that we're toggling, I'm gonna go back to our desktop here. I'm gonna select our image that we have on desktop, and I'm gonna just look at all the on clicks we have. So we have the screen takeover, which we no longer are using. We have confetti, gradient display, bulb, and then the toggle Pokeball open. So I'm going to turn all those on, or put them all in our triggers for our mobile closeout button here. But Simon, what do you got going on for today? How are you? Glad to have you in the chat. And yeah, so what's happening, man? Are you prepared for the rock climbs? Okay, while you are answering that, or really anybody, so I am going to add new interaction here. I'm going to go ahead and grab the correct asset we want to have interact. So I'm going to do Pokeball container here. I'm going to hit done. I'm going to toggle on and off an effect, and we're going to do the Pokeball open. So it should look like that is exact. It's going to do the opposite of that when we click our close button. Okay, we're going to also add, I think there's one more. It is the confetti. So I'm going to select, choose on canvas. I'm going to select the confetti because when we click that X button, we also want to turn on and off the confetti piece. So apply, we're going to switch it to toggle, close button hover. Oh wait, hold on, select on canvas. We need to select our confetti image. Where are we at? Where's confetti? Here we go. Boom. Done. Apply the confetti effect. So that will turn on and off our confetti effect here. So boom, opens. Boom, boom, close. All right, so we're looking pretty good. Now we just need to edit the, how this exactly is coming into frame. It's coming a little too fast. Simon says bouldering and climbing tomorrow. Today had to stay home for a plumber to stop by. The warm weather in the kitchen sink wasn't working. Oh man. Well, first off, I'm glad that you were able to stay home. Obviously, working and waiting for a plumber is not always the best, but I'm glad you're getting that taken care of. And Simon says, I'm now working on a silly project for the contest. You can submit multiple ones, right? Yeah, man, you can submit as many as you want. Like, I think that is part of the fun. And I just noticed that some of this stuff is not responding the best. So this seems that it's docked to the left. So we're going to go ahead and fix that. But yeah, submit as many as you want. Like, there's also a couple other people that are submitting quite a few things. So you will not be alone. All right, so now our Pokemon stuff is nice, and our choose your Pokemon is scaling nicely in the center. What is this piece? That's a container. I wonder why these whatchamacallit, why my social containers are so far. I'm going to scale these up a little bit more for mobile. I'm going to scale these up to maybe 300 pixels. All right, I lied. Let's do 150. Let's set the minimum height to auto. Looks like there's some margin in here. Our buttons, we need to take out the minimum height. Oh, well, we have it set to 100%. So I'm going to undo all of that because we actually want that. But let's see, this social container, let's do the height. We're going to set this maybe to, maybe we'll set this to 200. 200 px. No, let's set this to 100. Nope, still, let's try 50. Okay. And I'm just going to try to scale them manually. See how that works. I'm going to go into their grid layout here, advanced mode, and I'm going to add a little bit of padding in between just with these gaps. I'm going to do 10 pixels to separate them by about 10 pixels each. Maybe we'll do 20. Hit done. All right, let's see. We're looking all right. Let's go ahead and do pop. Let's go back to that. I do want these to be like a pretty good size, like a proper size. So we have 80. I'm gonna set these to 100, man. I'm gonna set this to 100 pixels or 100% so that these icons go to the 100% width of their cell, and they're pretty much all of the same size. And with that, I am going to go to the IG buttons here. I'm going to make sure that they're centered as well in their cell. All right. I'm going to go back to the main container. I'm going to center this. It still looks like it's not 100% centered. Like, let me see. I'm going to dock to the left and right and see what's kind of going on here. All right, it is centered. My eyeballs doesn't see, it doesn't look as if it is centered. I wonder if it's because of this Pokeball that is not centered either. It looks like let's set this to 300. Okay. Maybe we'll do 290. Center that. Okay. Let's see. Simon says, I was busy all summer for the coding game challenge, so I figured I'd do something fun now instead. Yeah, that's what I like, you know. Why I like Editor X, honestly, is because all the cool stuff that I've always wanted to make, like, I feel I can actually make it now. Like, I have never thought that I could, like, literally sit down and within maybe, like, yesterday was like 3 hours and a little bit of extra work and, you know, messing around, like actually be able to build something that is interesting, entertaining, and fun, and actually is living on the internet. I'm excited to actually publish this as a site, hopefully by the end of the week, where it's nice and crisp and clean. Obviously, we'll have a lot of fun in the next, the next hour with each other. But you know, I'm excited and happy to have platforms like this in our day-to-day lives to produce things that, you know, once required a developer. Let's see, choose your Pokemon here. I'm gonna pull this down just a little bit, give our logo a little bit of space. Night Owl says, sometimes you have to manually reset the row height and column widths, then recenter the elements. Yeah, sometimes there is some funk, but usually I find it's because sometimes there's funk that usually is just, you know, I've done a lot of things inside of the editor and I just need to refresh and it's good to go. But sometimes there are things that reset and it's because of, I don't know. But I'm getting used to figuring out usually what is causing that those issues. Now let me go back to choose your Pokemon. This seems to have docked back to the left. I'm going to dock it back to the right. Make sure it's centered. Okay. Preview. All right, that's staying here. Honestly, I could make this a little bit smaller. I feel like it's pretty big. Let's do 250. Actually, I'm gonna set this to auto, the width, or I'm gonna set this to max content here. And I'm just going to go in and edit the top and bottom here. So the width, I'm gonna set to about, let's do 80%. Top, also 80%. I'm gonna center it. Top, bottom, Use my arrow keys to get this right where I want it. Right about there. I feel like that's right about. See it, it's a little bit off. Click it, use my arrow keys. All right, that works. And I might scale the top just a little bit more, maybe like 81. There you go. Okay. Let's preview, boom. We're gonna move the Pokeball down just a little bit. Or the top and bottom, so I'm gonna hold shift, select them both. I'm gonna use my shift and arrow keys to move that down so it's in alignment with everything else. There we go. Okay, that works. All right, that's working. Woo! All right, what happened here? This is probably because on desktop or mobile, or what is this? I always forget to say tablet. This mobile here in tablet, or this mobile Bulbasaur container, this actually should be hiding or not being displayed on tablet, and most definitely should not be being displayed on desktop. Whereas when we're on mobile, our mobile Bulbasaur container should be, how do we say? Don't display. And also when I don't display, the actual section container actually collapses. Because as what we did before is we set the height to auto. Like I said, it auto does the nice auto shrinking and contrasting and expanding. But what I want to do is, because I don't want all that, I don't want all this space, you know? So what we could do is, this is a great size of a section for the entire website, including the mobile version. But these social elements, let's go ahead and grab them and place them a little bit higher. I want them a little bit closer to the Pokeball. So I'm going to pull them about 600 pixels. Let's see, let's do 450. Ray in the chat is asking a really good question. Ray, glad to have you here. So any advice into starting as a freelancer? I think that's a really good question. I'm going to go ahead and answer that right now. So we had a question in the chat by Ray. Any tips on starting freelancing? Or even starting a business or an agency? And I would say, you know, there's a million ways to start them. I can only speak to how I started mine. And it started with what is called, what some may call as moonlighting, which basically means working a full-time job while building your brand. Now, there's two ways I can talk about this. I can talk about this in regards to what are certain things that are important to my business, or I can talk about what are some important things that helped me start my business. So I can talk about either one, and I'll try to do that while I also work simultaneously. Or if you think it's better, if you want me to actually come back here and just do like a monologue on it, I totally can do that as well. But the quick thing is, you know, if you're trying to start freelance, you can start doing that, but you're gonna end up having to fight some of these certain battles. One, you have to figure out how you're gonna get clients. Two, you're gonna have to figure out what exactly is your product. Is it well packaged enough to sell your potential upcoming clients? And, you know, what exactly are your prices? So it was difficult for me to just start out doing a business not knowing any of those things, because it takes time to learn what exactly those things are. So what I did is while I was working my 9-to-5 in design as a senior designer, I took days, weekends, as soon as I got home from work, working on my my content, right? My design educational content, and or reaching out to people to do client work with them. Or the first thing was, what am I providing, right? What is the package? And a lot of people, when they first start out doing design, they're like, I do graphic design, I do web design, I do this, I do logos, I do that, basically everything. And it's so overwhelming. So what I had to do was I moved from doing just web design work to maybe doing some freelance website stuff to just producing educational content for design brands. So I've worked with Adobe, I've worked with obviously EditorX, Wix, along with many other plugin companies within the design spectrum, on top of designing for Salesforce, Hilton, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's important to know process and understand, like, how am I going to operate my business? And that requires so much time and effort. And for me, I only felt comfortable doing that while working and learning while getting paid for somebody else. So I learned a lot at an agency. I learned how to do contracts. I learned how to do, how to track time. I learned how people are, how we pitch to a client. So I think it's really important. Main couple things are, how are you getting clients? How are you pitching clients? And what exactly, I'll reverse that. How are you getting clients? What are you selling? And how do you sell that and pitch that to clients? Or how do you find people who need what you do? Like, those three things I would have immediately to help you out in business, because those three things will help you constantly go out, bring business in, and then do the business, and then go out again and do have a repetitive thing. And so once you learn those three things, you are in a really good shape. But if you're trying to go out and learn all that within like 2 months, that's a lot of work. My back hurts just thinking about it. But I highly recommend, like, you organize yourself in that manner. What do I want to produce? What do I want to sell people? Or what type of service can I provide or value can I provide to people? Finding out who and where those people actually exist and how you can go out and talk to them and provide your value to them. Those are the 3 steps, man. So I know that was very vague, but if anything from that you liked, please dive in with another specific question and I'll get to it. But don't forget to like this video if that was helpful. All right, back to our Pokeball. All right, so we're seeing how exactly this is working for us. We have, I'm gonna dock this to the top just so it stays in place. And it looks like we have a little bit of a percentage growth here. So we're gonna set this to not percentage, but to pixels, because we don't want them to grow. There we go. It's looking good. I'm gonna go back to our tablet here. I'm also gonna scale these to, I think there was, what was it, 175 or something? Okay. So we got Pokeball, that's good, that's good. I'm also gonna scale them here, 175. All right, so let's go ahead and preview this. So this is looking good. Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. Boom, that's looking good. Desktop was always fine. All right, let's squeeze this. Let's hope everything works out. All right, we're now in tablet. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here. All right, now we have some things to work on for our tablet for our Bulbasaur breakpoint. But let's go ahead and check out our mobile here. Or before we actually, I have to go back. Let's go ahead and just preview this. Boom. All right, we need to work on the scaling here. But otherwise, this is looking pretty good. We need to work on the width here. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to edit site. Let's display our mobile container here. Go down to our adjustments, set this to 100%. Click our Bulbasaur. And we want, let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to click this cogwheel and I'm going to do reset image size so that we have the whole image looking very nicely. Hey man, what's happening, dude? Let's see. 1 second, guys. I need to check something. But I'm glad you're enjoying the aesthetic, G. I appreciate it. All right, let's go back here. Let's see what's going on. What are you going? And I don't know if you, Gulam, or you know, whether you would like me to call you Gulam G or Mr. MK. Either way, you let me know how you would like to be referenced to. But yeah, I'm really happy how this is turning out. There's a couple things like, you know, that we need to fix, for example, like some of these wraparounds that we can easily, you know, fix. But I'm really happy with how this is scaling. I am going to set this maybe to, maybe I'll just set this to I'm going to set this to a percentage and have a max width of, let's set this to 63% or 69%, and I'm going to set this to a pixel size and set this to, maybe we'll do 300 by 300 maybe. It just called me MK. I got you, dog. We will keep it as MK. All right, so we're looking pretty good. What I was doing here is essentially, I liked how Bulbasaur was scaling, but he gets a little too big, right? So there's a nice enough space around him, but as soon as he starts scaling, there's very little space between the top and the bottom here. And so what I want to do is make sure, just like what we did last time, I want to make sure there's a margin of 40 pixels on the top, 40 pixels on the bottom. All right, so that when we scale, there still is room. There we go. So it's looking pretty good. Okay, let's go ahead and set this back to a, actually before we set this back to 0, I want to, oh, not that to 0, not full Bulbasaur, but the bulb container. We can set this to 0, but I want to go to our trigger, which is our ball container, which is behind all of this. And I'm going to find our triggers. So we have our bulb mobile container here, where essentially we are telling Editor X, hey, I've clicked this, please bring in this container, which is awesome. But now I want to edit that effect right here. So I'm going to click edit. And now what we need to do is we need to fix the timing of this. So let's go to the initial state. So the initial state, it is over here. We get to see where it's at. Let's go to the bulb container here, where it's actually showcased, where it's actually being shown now. And let's figure out, let's put the timing back on. And let's just figure this out. So we're going to start this at 0. And we're going to set this to, let's say, 0.8 seconds. Let's play this. All right, that's a little bit slower. Let's play it. Good. And now the initial state, we're going to set this to 0%. So now when we go back to the bulb container, we hit play. This is what it should look like. Good. Let's go to preview. Ball here, boom, very nice. Bulbasaur comes in a lot slower. Now what I do want to have, we have our evolutions down here as well. Let me go ahead and click this. I want to see that green gradient come up first. So let's go ahead and go to Site, Edit. Let's go back to our little display piece here. Now, like I said earlier, because we had, when you're doing animations and timing is kept the same across all breakpoints in animation. So what we're going to have to do to change the timing of how quickly that green goes up on mobile is we're going to duplicate our gradient here. We're going to bring it back into place where it should be. And we're going to call this mobile gradient. We're going to make sure that this is both left and top aligned. We're going to call this our desktop gradient. We don't need all them caps. Okay, so on desktop, we're gonna hide this. We're gonna don't display. On mobile, we're gonna keep it displayed, and we're gonna go back to our trigger. So MK, how's your day so far? What are you up to, man? I'm surprised to see you here, like, on... I say it's early, but it's literally like half of the day. What are you up to, man? And also, I'd love to hear more about your freaking podcast, dude. Like, your long-form content, like that stuff with AI, you know, just the metaverse is so exciting. And by the way, if you guys don't know MK, I do have to drop his Instagram in here. He's an awesome content creator who, you know, we've been in touch for a very long time, but because of time being of the, not of the essence, but life steals time from everybody. And we haven't really had the time to really, you know, chat at length. So I'm glad to be able to have him here, and, you know, very smart dude, does amazing work. So if you guys haven't peeped out his work, you know, highly recommend you start a conversation with him, and hopefully we'll be able to meet him either during Wednesday or our Thursday design and chat. So let me see, or introduce you guys rather. Let me do, I lost my train of thought. There was something specific I was doing, and it was the gradients. Okay, so we're going back to our ball, our trigger. So interactions. All right, our Pokeball container is one with all the triggers, or maybe it's not. Here we go. So we have our ball. We are going to now trigger on click the mobile gradient. We're gonna hit done. We're gonna apply an effect, toggle it on and off, gradient display. And let's preview this. So it comes in really slow, so we're gonna speed that up. So we've added that toggle on click. We're gonna go to mobile, go to the effects, gradient display, and now we're gonna change this. So we're gonna start it at about 0.3 seconds. So let's go ahead and play this. Or maybe we just, yeah, we'll just start at 0.3. So let's go ahead and preview this. So we have our nice little tilt, boom. All right, Pokeball comes, or these, this slide comes over way too quickly. All right, let's go back. And we also, now that we added this new mobile gradient, we need to add a new interaction with our, our close icon here. So we're gonna go to triggers, add new trigger. We're gonna select our mobile gradient, hit done, toggle on and off an effect, green display. Let's go ahead and preview. So now we should have boom. We still need to fix how fast this goes over. Boom. There we go. Okay. So now we need to actually animate, or not animate, but we need to edit how quickly the mobile gradient goes in and goes out when triggered. So we're gonna go to effects, boom. MK says, it's late evening here. I'll DM you later about the pod. It can get lengthy. Well, we're here for lengthy, guy, MK. But I'm excited to hear about what, you know, what you've got going on, man. It's just really cool how many cool things people are really working on nowadays, and it's just exciting. And the more that the people in our community do things, I feel like it's just like a broadening of consciousness almost. It's just like, whoa, all these people are doing all these cool things, and all these cool things exist. And it just opens our eyes to what's possible. Okay, so this bulb container, I'm going to try to edit this again. So we're starting at, okay, we're starting at 0. We're going to delay this to about, do 0.8, and we are going to give it about 1.8 seconds to animate there. Let's see. It's still super fast. I wonder why. Like, if I go to container here, MK says, I haven't used Editor X much. Looks pretty easy to bring designs to life. Dude, let me tell you, if I can build stuff in this, everybody can build stuff in this. Like, I honestly, Like I've tried to, when Webflow first came out, dude. Like I tried to make stuff like this, and it was so hard. It was so horrendous. Like I couldn't get it. Like there was some code involved. It just hurt the hell out of my brain. And it was like a super learning curve. Like you really had to become a little bit of a pseudo developer to get good at Webflow. Whereas in this, like there's some principles that are like maybe new to me, like containers, grids, how that works. But after that, like I'm basically the same designer. That's why I love it. It's a lot easier to, when you're troubleshooting things in here, it's more so from a visual standpoint and like, oh, that didn't work. You can kind of like intuitively figure out what you messed up or why something didn't work. Because other than that, like in Webflow, I'm like, I don't know. It's just, no. It's too much thinking. Okay. Just gonna gotta do some tweaks. Because that green is now fast. I like that. But our mobile container is moving a little too quickly. Let's see. I wonder if I'd started at 0.3 and just made it, drown out. And another thing I want to do is I'm going to go to the initial state here, and I'm going to move this a little bit further over to the right. So I'm going to do about 99%. So it's a little bit further over here and has more time to slide. Boom. It's still coming over pretty quickly. I'm also thinking, do I need that little... Let's try this. I'm like, do I need the green? Like, what happens if I just don't display this? It still comes... I still think that this comes a little too fast for my liking. And I'd probably rather it come from the bottom. I feel like that would be much better. So maybe we'll do that. We'll go to this bulb here. We'll edit this. We'll go to the initial state rather than being over to the right. So we're going to set this to 0%. So it's centered. I'm going to set this to 100% down below. Let's hit done. Let's go to preview. Let's see what's going on. So it's a little bit more of a mobile experience. So it's kind of like a drawer. And we can close this. I mean, that works. I feel like that's a lot better. What do you guys think? I think for our, whatchamacallit, for our section, I'm thinking minimum. I wonder what 100% VH looks like really quick. So this is 100% VH, so we'll do the minimum 100% VH. We're going to do the max 128 VH, but the height we will set this to actually just be auto. Or pop, pop, pop. All right, let me see. Let's do preview. Boom. I don't know. Night Owl says, I like it. MK says, I take too long Webflow. Bro, like, yeah. I don't know. There's some people, you know, it works for some people. For me, not really, man. You know, I really like and enjoy Editor X because I can just think about the creativity side of things and not have to think about how developmentally I can make this come together. Like, I've not built this before in Editor X, and I was just like, hey, let's just go live and see like what I can kind of put together design wise, and you know, see what can be made. I actually am going to set the height to just be auto because I am having issues with what's it call it? Basically, when this comes up, right, this section needs to actually expand because there's more content down here. But I wonder if there should be a way to expand it. Like this mobile thing here. The opacity 0, scale. I wonder what we could do with the scale. What if we did 0 here? Or that's the X, my bad. Let's do full width but 0 height. Huh. I thought it would actually shrink. Let me set this to auto. I'm just trying to find as much of the height that I can. Okay, let's preview again. All right, well that did something. That was odd. I need to figure out, I think I hid something. Knight says, I say move the Pokeball, move the Pokemon above the social bar. Just like, say move the Pokemon above the social bar. Like beneath the, you mean this piece? And let me see. I know I turned this off. Let's go back to mobile here. Turn that opacity off. Let's go to this. I think I accidentally turned something off, and I don't remember what. Let me go back here. All right. I also want that to go down just a little bit slower. So let's try to go back here. Boom, effects, display. Let's go to the initial designing state and try to edit this entire piece here. So we end at 0.9, which means I kind of want the animation to end in about 2 seconds. I know that's super long, but I'm trying to exaggerate it so that I can see what's going on. All right, that was a little slow. Boom. All right. It's much slower. Let's try to do that a little bit quicker. But now we're getting somewhere. Like, this is the part of, you know, working like this to, you know, we're troubleshooting. Night Owl was saying, no, I mean the evolutionary states. There's Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur. Move them just beneath the big bulb. Oh, I think that's honestly, I think that's a really good idea. But I do not want to start moving things just yet. Although, like, it would be super easy to move these things. Like this container, I could probably just use the grid cells to just move them. I'll try that. We'll do another version. We'll duplicate this whole page and we'll make another version. But I want to try to do, I just want to get the function of the website done, because then we can make transitions happen almost seamlessly. So I'm going to turn back on our mobile gradient here. because we're going to start working on the transition times for that. All right, let's go back to edit website. Mobile gradient here. Let's go to the effects. Let's do about 1 second. Let's just look, boom. I feel like having 2 is a little much. What do you guys think? Either that or, hey, what's going on, Sean? Good to hear. And not here. See, like, I hear you in my mind's eye. But it's good to see you in the chat, my friend. How are you doing, Sean? How's your day? I'm trying to figure out if we need that sort of green slide. I mean, I think maybe what I want to try to do is maybe speed up the Bulbasaur animation a little bit, or like the sliding. So it starts at 0.3 and takes maybe a whole second to get in place. Let's preview, boom. So we got that green coming up. Let's close that out. What do you guys think? I think this is like really important. I either want to do a Bulbasaur slide in only and forget the green. Sean says, doing good, brother. Just got out of class for the day. Glad to hear, man. What class are you coming from? All right, let's do... I gotta think. I think the Bulbasaur mobile container is still a little slow. So I'm gonna drop this down to, let's do 0.8. And another thing that I kind of want to try to do, I feel like that's a little better, but I still feel like it's slow. I'm going to try to speed up the green mobile gradient, and I'm going to try to speed up, what's we call it too. So I'm going to set this to 0.5, 0 to 0.5, half a second. And we are going to pull in the mobile Bulbasaur container right into place at 0.6. Boom. All right. It's pretty good. We're going to keep tweaking, Mobile, boom. Let's see. Sean said it also might be a good idea to check out Pokemon Go for inspiration on how to reveal the Pokemon. I'm pretty sure they grow on the screen after the right screen. That's actually a really good, you know, I didn't check out Pokemon Go. I literally was just like, I was like, I wonder if we can, what we can do. This is still super long. Let's do 0.4. All right, let's look at the initial state. I'm gonna put the initial state about like 80, 70. I'm gonna try to bring the design right underneath these social icons. 60. All right, we'll do 70. 65. Okay. Hit done. Preview. All right, a little bit better. The green definitely is much faster. I like that. But Ivysaur or Bulbasaur still hella slow. So let's figure that out. Again, let's go to initial state. I don't know if we got 0.9 seconds. Let's see. This is all like, this requires a lot of thinking. All right, let's check this out. 0.5 seconds. This is 0.9 to 1.9. All right, let's go back to our Bulbasaur thing here. Let's do 0 to 0.4 or 0.5. And let's do the initial 1. I think it was 0.9 to 1.9. So let's try that. Let's just try to mirror some stuff. All right. So this I'm liking a little bit more. I think it's still a little slow. The outro animation is a little slow. So let's go ahead and let's continue to tweak. So Bulbasaur, let's go ahead to that initial animation. Let's go to here. Oh, this is the desktop. I was like, those are different numbers. All right, Bulbasaur mobile. There we go. We got the 0.5. Let's go to our initial state. Okay. So we want it to start the animation after, or before. We want it to go before the green gradient. So, boom. All right, that was a little bit better. All right, now the Bulbasaur is a little too fast. Hey, MK, you didn't even have to do that, man. I appreciate the donation, dog. And I'm gonna be really upset if the screen didn't say thank you for the donation. I gotta figure out how to get that to work. But I appreciate the kudos, man. All right, let me see. Our mobile was fast, so we need to go back in here. Let's go back. We have 0. We're gonna give it a little bit of stall. So we're gonna do a point. We're gonna still keep it at 0. Maybe we'll do 0.8 to where it ends. So let's go ahead and preview. Boom. All right, we still want the green to finish first. All right, let's see. Let's go to our mobile gradient. Let's see our numbers. We start at 0.0. We end at 0.5. Okay. So what I think I'm going to do here is going to go back to my mobile container. I'm going to give it a little bit of a delay. So we're going to start at 0.3, just like we were doing before, and we're going to give it 0.5 seconds. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can't believe I just had to count my fingers for that. All right, let's go and preview. Boom. All right, now everything's coming a little too fast. So let's go ahead and do, let's go to our mobile gradient again. Let's give this 0.3 seconds. Let's do about 1.3 seconds here. I'm going to try to do, I want each thing to have like a second in between it. I know it's a little long. So we have 0.3 goes to 0.8. I am going to, is this our, This is our mobile. I want to do our gradient here. Edit that. All right, we start here, 0.3, end at 1.3. Okay. Was that the initial? I gotta start paying attention, guys. My bad. Okay. All right. All right, let me turn off. I'm gonna do one thing at a time. Let me just turn off our green gradient here. I'm gonna don't display it. Preview. I like the speed of this a little bit better. The speed of the animation of the ball is a little slow. And we could totally edit the speed at which it animates if I duplicate the ball again, which is gonna be it's gonna be a lot of work. So I'm trying to find a little bit of a way to just like make this start a little bit slower. Simon says, I've written 100 lines of code for the game, ran it for the first time, and seems to be working. Wait, what game hold on. Are you making a, are you doing the hackathon game thing? And Simon says, as a programmer, it is very worrying because it means that there are some deep problems that are not shown. Oh God. Well, I'm glad on the first run you have a little bit of something going on. You know what I'm saying? But yes, you know, that is a little suspicious. But also, you might just be that fire at doing your developmentness, my good sir. Let me see. I'm gonna set this up to start at 0.6 and maybe end at 1.6. I'm like, how is it still moving that fast? That's not even a whole second. Or is it? What if I start at 0.3? What if I set this to 3 seconds? This is one thing that I haven't really been able to figure out in Editor X is sometimes there are discrepancies with animations, and I haven't really been able to essentially figure out why the speed, like if I say, hey, please make this animation 3 seconds, go from the initial state, which is all the way down here, 0 opacity, 100% scale, to this position, and take 3 seconds, please. This is definitely not 3 seconds. It might be, but it definitely doesn't look like it. This definitely doesn't feel like 5 seconds. That's definitely not 5 seconds. Let's see. Oops. Simon says the hackathon is over. I was busy all summer, but I'm doing a game thing for the Hover Challenge, so well as a proper site. Man, I can't wait to see the game for your submission. That thing's gonna be crazy. And Simon says, yeah, I've run it into that as well. Wait, what did you run into? Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying, Simon. Because yeah, sometimes with the animations, they don't do the timing. But I was able to fix it yesterday because I was having a huge problem with the Pokeball yesterday with the timing, and it was just such a pain. But I figured out that what I was doing, it was actually a me problem, not a Editor X problem. It was because I had created timings for a particular element that I was trying to basically, on a click trigger, make it do 2 different things. And one of the animations features or set of instructions were trying to override the other one. And so what I was realizing, I was like, oh, I have like basically 2 settings that one trigger are trying to implement for one element. So it was getting confused and had 2 different instructions. So I just have to figure out where I have the wrong instructions. And I have a pretty good idea as to what they might be. And I have a feeling it is I have a feeling it's on this ball trigger here. And we have this bulb container thing here. We also have another bulb container for the desktop. And I wonder if they are like confusing each other, even though they have different settings. Yeah, I just wonder. So let's keep at it. Mobile effects. Because the thing is what I have tried in the past is I would just delete this, right? And then I would go to an effect, I would do custom, and I would do mobile display. And essentially it would keep the same, it would be the same. So we have the initial state, which is fine, but the mobile display, we want 100% opacity, right? And we want to bring this to 0, 0. So it's at the top of the page. So hit done. That looks more about like 0.9 seconds. I'm gonna set this to 3 seconds. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like. There we go. All right, so maybe that's all I really had to do. There was probably some funk. So I'm gonna set this to 1 second. This is gonna help us out tremendously. Hit play. Let's go to preview. All right, so we have that, but let's us figure out why this didn't show. Oh, we have to recreate the trigger. So ball container, let's go to triggers for ball. I'm gonna delete this one. Let's go back to, I'm gonna choose our mobile Bulbasaur container, hit done, a toggle in effect, mobile display, done, preview. Okay, this should work. Boom. And we're gonna have to retoggle this, I guess. But I'm surprised that I have to go back and retoggle that. That shouldn't be the case. Oh, here it is. It's just, we have to change this. So go back, image, self, choose on camera. We're gonna select this bulb container mobile. We're gonna toggle the effect, and because we renamed it, we have to just change that. Preview, boom, bap. Okay. It's a lot smoother. I do want the animation to happen just a little bit faster on this initial thing here. And I wonder, you know, if I do take the time, what I would do is, like I've done with everything, we've duplicated the gradient background, we've duplicated the Bulbasaur mobile slider, and there was actually, whatchamacallit, there was another thing. Oh, with the Pokeball, I would just duplicate it and make it have its own special requirements in terms of animation for mobile. Because if I edit the elements here, it will actually apply to everything, and I don't want that to happen. Simon says, Simon says, yeah, animations in times are mysterious sometimes. Yeah, they definitely are. Probably a me problem as well, but sometimes I just start over. Yeah, sometimes like there are just like, you know, really from playing around with it last night, literally till like 3 p.m. or excuse me, 3 a.m. I found that I either just, there is a miscommunication where, just like if you were using grids, your inspector has one height, but your grids have another height. They kind of fight with the information and they don't know where to go. Same thing with the animations. If you have duplicated something and those settings are coming from another asset, sometimes there's like data confusion. So it's just best to just like wipe the old animation, duplicate the assets, and recreate the animations from scratch. If you need to kind of redo them. Let's see. So we've got tablet, mobile. That was interesting that it did like that weird morph. Huh. Okay. It's probably really important also to figure out how to keep our ball pieces in the exact same size. So let's go to height here. I'm going to set this to auto. And I wonder, as if I push and pull here. All right, that goes to the correct size. That does not fix itself. This is pretty good. Tablet is where we start having that problem. And then here we have a little bit of problem, but it resizes. I wonder what that is. All right, but let's start here. We're gonna go to our bottom here. We're just gonna move this up with our arrow keys. There we go. We're gonna go to preview. We also have to edit this stuff as well. So let's go ahead and do that because we have not done it for our tablet version of our website. So I'm going to turn this on. The opacity will be 100%. Okay. So I'm going to, like we've done in the past, I'm going to set this container with all of our text. I'm going to set this to about 80%, maybe 90. We're going to take this Bulbasaur text in here. We're going to set the text to be a scale piece, and we're going to set this to about 120 to, let's say, 60. Let's see what that looks like. All right. We take this container. We're going to left align it. We're going to take this line that we have down here. We're going to set this to 100%. Bulbasaur, we're going to set to about 60. And maybe we'll do 80. Our text up here, we're going to set this to a fixed size. We're going to set maybe to 60, or excuse me, 30. And we're going to fix how much space that we have. There we go. Maybe we'll do -5, -10. I think that works. And so let's just see. Let's go ahead and grab this. I'm also going to scale this up just manually. Both our Pokemon logo and our X. Make sure that they're horizontally aligned in their grid cell. All right. I'm going to take this container. I'm going to give it a little bit of padding to the left. 15 pixels. There we go. So it's looking good. I'm going to go ahead and just hide or turn the opacity back down to 0 for the initial. All right, let's go to preview. All right, that works. All right, the outro of basically this leaving is working pretty well. And I wonder if I actually like that. What do you guys think about this? Obviously, it needs a little bit of cleanup. But I'm liking this. The logo or our social medias down here can use some extra space. So let's go ahead and go back to our desktop here. Our desktop Bulbasaur will go to 100. Let's go to this container. We're going to set the size to 175 pixels. Just like that. We're going to make sure this is aligned with other content. Good. Preview. Let's close that. We need to turn this opacity back down to 0. gonna send it to 0, and I'm also going to, I'm gonna find our trigger, which is our ball here. Interactions. And I want to grab, actually I want to go to our desktop here, go to the effects, display, and I'm going to go to the initial state here, and I'm going to pull this back over to about 90, so we just have more room on the page. Okay. Night Owl says, I like it a lot. I want to do something like this down the road. Well, my friend, you now have some you now have some reference of something pretty cool that you can do. So I actually like that. That looks smooth. So let's go back to mobile here. I'm liking this. It's a little bit different. But the thing is though, is that I want to see the actual confetti explode before this comes up. So I'm gonna delay this a little bit. Go back to my Bulbasaur mobile here, edit the effects. I'm gonna start this off at 1.3, and we're gonna do a 1.3. So we still have a second transition. Go to preview. Okay, let's try it again. All right, a little bit better. All right, I'm liking this, guys. So far, so good. I think we're pretty much close to being done for today. We've been rolling for about 2 hours and 30 minutes. But of course, I'm gonna be essentially, let me go back in here, edit this, make sure that our content is actually hidden. Let's go to the initial state. That is, yep, over there. Boom, should be over here, perfect. Let's go ahead and hit done. All right, I'm gonna publish this because I wanna see what actually happens. So let's go ahead and view the site. All right, this is looking pretty good. Boom, opens up, boom, bat, pow. All right, everything here is looking good. We have our floating animations. We can close this, boom. All right, desktop, we're good to go. Now let's go ahead and squeeze this a little bit. Ooh, we gotta figure out why that happens, because that's no bueno. Maybe our man Ari can help us figure this out. And also, I also want to figure out like how to, at least while nothing is down here, how to reduce this to just being, you know, 100% viewport height, where it's just this. Because the reason that this is this long, this whole section, is because when we click this, this entire section is this long. So there should be a way to automatically adjust the, what's we call it? To adjust this. So, but again, this is a work in progress. And also this is like the main thing, like keeping the Pokeball together at all times. Like, I know it will go back, but at the same time, I don't want it to move. You know what I mean? And that's something that I have to, you know, really, I have to figure out. So let's see. Let's see if we can actually fix this. I'm going to do the test on, I'm going to duplicate this page actually. So I'm going to home, I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to call this Pokemon or Pokeball fixed. All right, so I'm going to go here, go to my layers, go to my section, and let's start working on this Pokeball here. Let's see, how shall we do it? We have the ball. I have I have an inkling to just like, thank you, Simon. I'm glad that you're enjoying it and that it's looking good. I'm pretty happy with it too. I want to set this to auto and try to figure out, or maybe not auto. let's go ahead and set this, put this back. Control Z. Maybe I can set this even smaller to like 250. Let's see if I just manually pull this up. I'm gonna grab this bottom piece here, bring it to the bottom here. So I'm gonna dock it to the bottom, and I'm gonna use this these pixels here essentially to just close the ball in. All right, boom. Here, I'm gonna try to do the same thing. I'm trying to make the container keep the ball the same size where it's right now. It's a little bit open, giving room for that bottom portion of the ball to actually open a little bit. So I am going to select this ball thing. Height, I'm gonna set this to, let's do 250 pixels for right now, just see what happens. Take that bottom piece, align it to the bottom, go back to the ball, and just one pixel at a time, just expand it. There we go. Let's go to mobile, do the same thing. Ball or bottom here, we're gonna align it to the bottom. Go back to our ball here, and we're going to reduce this to 250 pixels. And we are going to increase the size of that container until we get that nice little space that we're wanting. All right, well, let's see if we got it. Boom, opens up. Very nicely done. All right, let's try to pull this out. All right, this is still looking pretty good. These looking a little extra, a little thick down there. We can also move these down as well, which is, I think, something that I'd like to do. Pull this out. Yeah, we got to figure out how to fix that. Boom. All right, we got tablet looking pretty fire. Evolutions could use a little bit of scale, so let's go and edit that. Let's go to desktop. Boom, go to 100. All right, let's go to evolutions. Let's go to their container. And we are going to scale these up to be about 80%. There we go. Oops, let's go back to edit. Let's make sure that desktop is opacity is set to 0 for the initial. Style, boom, click, open up. Where'd it go? All right, let's go here. Let's go to effects. Opacity should be 100% on the actual trigger. Opacity 0 here. All right, preview. Okay, so this is working. All right, now we got desktop. Okay, let's go ahead and publish this. Let's check out, let's see what's going on. Okay, let's view the site. All right, we know desktop is good. Boom. Pa-da-da-bap. Okay, let's close this. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Initial hover is good. Boom, opens up. Boom, boom, pow. It's clean, we're looking good. I could totally make this a little bit bigger. Same with these. All right, that's looking good. Let's squeeze this down. All right, it conformed, but it was looking a little scary. I got to figure out why it's doing that. I'm gonna have to ask someone on the EditorX team, but other than that, we're looking pretty good, guys. Uh-oh, there was a little confusion there. I think what happened here is, because there is one trigger, I know exactly what happened here, but this is why you QA stuff. So what happened, I'm gonna refresh this. is because I have different things on different breakpoints. And I wonder why it's even, why it takes time for the animation really to happen when they're so far apart and they come together. I wonder why there's like a little bit of an animation that goes to that. But essentially, for example, when I trigger this on desktop, remember when we made different we have different layers, different things that turn on and off on each experience. So when I trigger something on desktop and I immediately take it to mobile, those elements are not there. So for example, we made a trigger happen on desktop, right? We clicked the ball, now we have Bulbasaur show up. And these things exist on the desktop and they exist on the tablet. So they're here, but they do not exist on the mobile, which is why we see the back end, or we see the actual Pokeball open, and it gets confused when we click the same trigger. And those things are, it just gets confused. So the best way to do this, and I kind of said this before, it's important that we have both desktop and mobile specific things. So I would actually, for mobile, I would duplicate this Pokeball, have my own mobile trigger, so that all the things that are on mobile trigger with that trigger. All things that are on tablet and desktop will need to actually be created and, how do I say? The things on tablet and mobile are triggered by a particular trigger, while the things on the things on tablet and desktop are triggered by one thing, and the things on mobile are only triggered by something that is on the mobile desktop. Otherwise, we get wires crossed where there is one trigger that is triggering things both on the mobile and the tablet and desktop experiences, which, for example, this thing, right? We have one trigger, which is this. Boom, we play it, it goes. But this right here, this screen does not exist here on mobile, so it doesn't show it. However, if I trigger this again, if I click this ball again, it will trigger our mobile things, but turn off the desktop stuff. You guys see what I mean? So always have dedicated triggers for your tablet and desktop and mobile, or if you know you're gonna have similarities, just make sure you have that as well. But I do want to figure out, how to keep this ball sort of intact. I wonder if I am using, I'm going to close all this stuff here. Let's go to edit. Let's try to see if we can figure this out in the next 15 minutes. Let's go to dun, 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 dun. I might end up start singing on here. All right, let me do. Let's go to ball. Let's go to layout here. All right, so this is a percentage. What if we set this to pixels? I'm gonna just make the ball set to pixels for every single. What if I did max content? No thanks. Max content, 300 pixels. Let's see. All right, so the Pokeball thing worked. Let's see if we can fix it on tablet. So we're in tablet. Let's click our ball here. Let's go to inspector. I'm going to set this to max content here, but minimum width we're going to do 300. Or let's see, maybe we can do a little bit less. We'll do 290. Preview that. Oh. I wonder if I'm gonna try to look at something. Because what is taking, I think why it's taking the time it is to do an animation when it's trying to move back together is I believe that there's this ball and move effect that I have. The initial state of this ball starts animating after 1.4 seconds. And I wonder if I set this to 0. I'm going to save this. I'm just going to take a screenshot of this really quick so I remember my numbers. But I'm going to set this to 0. I'm going to set this to 0.5. I'm going to hit done. Let me go ahead and preview. So it is a little bit faster in its adjustments. There we go. Yeah. So it is that's what I mean. You have to play a little bit around where it's just like the reason the Pokeball is not moving in the way I would like is because it's taking some sort of animation settings from somewhere. And it was the initial state. I'll preview again. Let's go ahead and grab this. All right, so it has a little bit of a... All right, so it's recovering pretty nicely now. There is that little funk right here. Let's try to see what all that is about. Let's go back to tablet. But I also want to go back to preview too, because I think there is what that was essentially, right? If you guys remember the ball, when we closed this, the ball used to come back slowly and close. So that initial animation that we are basically editing made it so that when the ball tries to return back to its initial position, it will take a certain amount of time. But now we've kind of erased that to remove some of the glitchiness. So it's kind of like a little bit of a give and take. But I do need to fix the, what is this? From mobile to tablet. From desktop to tablet is fine. Going down is fine. Going up is not good from tablet to, or from mobile to tablet. So let's see. Joshua, what is going on, man? Glad to see you. How are you doing? Knight says the background video doesn't play on mobile. It should. I actually think it is. It's just we can't really see it. And plus, I'm doing preview right now. But if I am here on the actual site and I close this, and I close this, I can see very faintly in the background that it is displaying on mobile. Most of this stuff in Editor X, the video does play in the background. All right, let me see. Let's go to my ball here. Let's do our layout. I think it's because our width here is kind of large. So let me see. Can I set this? We have this to max content. What is our things here? I want to set these to 100. And take the bottom. I'm going to push this down a little bit, just like that. Let's go to preview. All right, that's much better. Now there is a little bump right there if you guys saw that. Let's try to figure out how to fix that. And I believe it is, again, going from mobile. Let's go to our ball here. I believe it's this bottom piece here that we have. So I'm going to go to my ball. I'm going to set the minimum width. Let's set this to none for what? Let's set this to First off, I want to make sure that this is at the top and this is at the bottom. Night Owl says it should be fine across the different breakpoints. The breakpoints are explicit, so any flaws in between areas aren't likely to be experienced in the wild. I don't know. Because even this, right? So if I am fixing this, like that was the published website that we were looking at and it was having those issues. So I'm trying to limit that from happening. I'm going to set this to, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to set this to 240. Oh, let me do the height, not the width. I'm going to set this to 250. I want this bottom to be the exact, all right, going here. I'm going to use the height of the ball or this container to actually adjust the height here. Okay, preview. Let's see, boom. All right, that's good. Like, yeah, that little stanky little hiccup thing. I don't necessarily like that. But it is much better than where it was. Let's go ahead and publish this really quick and see where we're at. Like the default breakpoints aren't based on common viewport sizes, so the web browser isn't likely to draw the flaws. Well, it's the responsiveness. Like, see, this is like, these are the same issues that I was having, and that can be fixed. I think this is still the old website. Let me. Okay. Yeah, like that's a real issue. That is a real life issue. It corresponding like that, and I need to figure out how to not have that happen. But the animations overall, I'm really happy with. It's just going from this to this, and I thought we literally fixed that. That's so weird. Yeah. I don't know. Another thing that I probably would do to make this a little bit easier is I probably would have this as a PNG with hover interactions on top of it. And then when clicked, then I would disappear the PNG, show the animation of the actual that is like a replica of this. So essentially, like if I had this, right, I would probably have it in Adobe XD. And just to easily like kind of demonstrate this, I would go in here, boom. I would have essentially basically two Pokeballs. As soon as this is clicked, this version would, the opacity would go down. This is the animated one. The animated one opens, and then we can get into the other animations. Because keeping this, the PNG is just like, it's super easy. I might actually, I might try to actually mess around with this and see if we can do that. But we are running into almost 3 hours of live, guys. And out of curiosity, I would love to know from you guys in the chat. I know I'm going to be working on this. I know that I would like to get this project to a good spot. But I would love to know from you guys. Would you actually like to watch me live go through and finalize this website? Or is this something that you just want to maybe see you know, a final video of and just see how it's done. I would really love to have that feedback from you guys in the Discord or in the chat as well. But, you know, animation wise, design wise, I'm happy with it. But it is the responsive nature of getting those things like that fixed. And I'm going to check one last time to see. I'm going to go and click on our ball here. Go to our interactions, go to our effects, go to our initial, ball container. It's 0.1. I believe there might be a animation over here. Rotate. Ball 0.1. Night Owl says maybe a final video of how it's done. I definitely agree, because these are taking really long. Like, I think it's great to showcase things, but you know, we got pretty far, and I'm happy with the initial everything. But I kind of want to, you know, finish this up and clean it up. So I'm gonna publish one last time. Pretty sure we're gonna have the same things. And for, what's I'm gonna call it? Just a fuller glimpse. I'm gonna put this up here. I'm gonna turn my things off real quick. And let's just take a quick little look at all the things that we've done. So yesterday we were able to do this for desktop, looking good. We have our mobile here. Of course, it needs to adjust a little bit. Got our mobile experience looking very nice. And we have our, and we have our tablet. Of course, again, it's probably best that, because we haven't done everything, we want to go through the desktop version first, turn off everything, go through to the tablet version, go through everything, turn it off. And of course, I can actually increase the size of these as well. I think I probably want to do that, and then we can, and then we can close out. Edit, tablet, desktop, layout. Let's turn this to 100. Okay, and I want to see what happens when these get squeezed. So that's mobile. Maybe it was being squeezed in mobile. Nope, that looks fine. Let's go back to tablet. I'm gonna set this to 90. So it's a little bit. I'm gonna set this puppy back to 0% opacity. Oops, not that. The container holding them. Preview. Okay. Let's go to the effects. Set this to 100. There we go. Simon says, yeah, I think the final video would be good. I'm interested to see if you can get the stuff figured out. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure I already know who I'm going to ask. I'm pretty sure Ari has an answer for what we can do to get this puppy all squared away. But I'm going to publish one last time. Because I want this, how this is basically responding here, right? It seems so smooth. This is exactly what I expect. And I'm just like, is it actually publishing to, you know, because it made sense when there was the issues that we were having on the live site, we were having in the editor. But now we're not having any of the problems that we were having. All right, tablet's looking good. Still curious as to why these are still so small, because I did 80% and that means they probably should be out here. Okay, let's make sure we turn this off. Let's go to mobile. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna do one last thing, but that is it. And I swear this is the last thing. Let's go here. I'm gonna turn on our desktop. I have an inkling that I might have these guys at a super small. I'm gonna hit done here. I'm gonna grab this container. Width is 35. I'm gonna set this to around 50. I think that's what the issue was. So let's go ahead and preview. Yeah, I think it was because these were around 35. They were super tiny. Yeah, but that works for me. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed basically both today and yesterday's session, and really just showing you guys like a 6 hours worth of really my workflow. I'm excited to tidy up this project and give you guys a glimpse of what the finished product should look like in a final video. A nice cluster of really somewhere around a shorter, way shorter video of a culmination of yesterday and today's work slapped together with the final product, and a really nice showcase. So with that said, do not forget again about the EditorX challenge that you need to submit your work for your hover interactions by September 20th. The link for all that and any information you need is down below. If you want to join our Discord, the link for that is also down below, and just come and join in our Discord tomorrow. Typically we have a 30-minute live session here on YouTube talking about design news, careers, trends, as well as after that diving into our Discord to have a little bit more of a community chat, meeting new members, seeing new faces, and just discussing the same thing, asking and not only getting to know one another, but any sort of topic, whether it's career, design, EditorX, no code, metaverse, what have you. You know, we just discuss kind of what's going on and what you guys might be having trouble with in your, or what the blocks are in your educational journey, and we try to all help you out where we can. So there will be more announcements on that later today, because I believe I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, but I have to check that, so we might be moving it to Thursday. All right. Other than that, I will see you guys in the Discord, and I will see you guys on the next one. So have a great day, enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you in the Discord. Peace.